2 minutes.
There we go.
Come back.
Sorry, everybody.
Gotta come back.
Jeez.
Are we back in the same stream, though?
We should be. It's set up to be. Golly. Never
Wonderful.
trust me with this again.
I'm not seeing anybody in our chat, though.
Never trust me with this again. I used to be the guy that knew. Is anybody out there? Is anybody
it looks
out
like
there?
It looks like the stream ended
Oh, my God.
on the tube.
Oh, come on. All right. Well, let's see. Where do we find them?
Yeah, it's showing us as live, but not in... It's not in the same...
Hi. So I don't... Wow. Okay. I'm just going to walk
got
on
decisive.
YouTube to see. Yes. Here's our link. But I don't know where the last one is. Dang it.
Okay, some people are finding us.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like it re-upped.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Thank you for those of you who have found us again.
Hi.
We
Yeah.
don't know what happened, Galaxy. Everything just fell apart. Nobody touched anything. It just exploded.
went. It just went.
I'd say it's the power, the collective power of all of this incredible artistic prowess that's just coming at you. It's just too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother, why don't you go ahead and spin us out with the outro, and then let's get into the meat and taters
Let's
of
get in.
today's show.
Okay. Boom.
Haters.
Boom. Ba-doodle-doo-doo-doo. Let me do that. Do. Now.
My Beatrice cockroaches, they multiplied, got in the wires, and just started.
Welcome
We are-
back.
We are total pros, you guys.
We're
Total
so
pros.
I don't understand. Sorry, everybody, about that. Don't really know. It's just full gremlin time here in Bivens Brothers headquarters.
Well, you know what? It's okay, because from here on out, we're just yapping. We're just going to talk about Shadowdark. No fancy scene changes needed. No floofy games to be played. No more flop. We're just going to get down to the nitty gritty. Are you ready? So the other night,
So ready.
we had the opportunity to play a level 1, kind of learn how to play Shadowdark with a wonderful gentleman from the Shadowdark Discord. His name is John. I think his screen name is, what was it, Fitz?
Evo Unnamed?
Evo Unnamed. So we don't know his actual last name, and maybe he doesn't want us to know it. He didn't tell us. His name is John. That's all we know. Or he told us it was John. Anyway, and he ran us through just a nice little adventure of Shadowdark. It was our first time playing, and we're just going to unpack that a little bit. So I actually had to jump off early that evening. I didn't get to play the whole time. So Matt, Fitz, Seth was not there at all. So you and I are just going to sit back, relax, kick up your feet, listen to Matt and Fitz talk about the amazing experience that they had. You guys thrill us.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Fitz, do you want to speak first? Do you want me to share my thoughts? Or you want at the same time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, because we've got all levels of experience with the game and with the old school styles in our group today. Because Seth, you're super into Shadowdark, but you haven't had the opportunity to play yet. The three of us have played, but I have never done. I don't have the nostalgia for the old school games like you and Evan do, Matt. So I think we've got a little bit of a full spectrum here to talk about it. I think after the first taste on Monday, there are a few parts of the system that really called out to me, because obviously when you're reading through the rules, it's much different on the page than in actuality, like anything else in life, right? And there were two things that popped out to me that I'd love to discuss with you guys if you have opinions on it. The first of which being that we've been touting that, it's a gauntlet, you're gonna die all the time, you come with 1 million characters, but apparently after level 0, like once you hit level 1, there's survivability of Shadowdark is much higher than we were giving it credit for.
Yes, it's less grim dark. I mean, I really do think that it has gotten this vibe of being grim dark, which again you could most definitely do. You can pour on all the dark grimacy, gritty kind of vibe that you would like, but it doesn't. The gameplay itself doesn't have to be that. And John was very cool in explaining. Yes, there is a torch system. You are supposed to go into the dark often, but you can kind of track other things than light if you want to, and you want to be creative. If you're at a beach, there's a darkness at the beach. It doesn't have to be the absence of light.
The darkest at every beach that I've ever been to is a small screaming child kicking sand into my face and peeing in the ocean next to me. That's the darkness.
So what do you have in place of torches on the beach in this scenario, Evan?
A super soaker.
When you run out of exactly. When you run, so that's the kind of creativity that it does have open. So yes, Fitz, I agree. I was surprised that it was not just dark, to die. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, John was saying that it's a little bit more flat level-wise, that between first level, second, like there obviously everyone, but you don't, unlike 5e, you don't have to all be the same level to all have fun. People can be in different places, and everyone kind of has a chance to survive, which when combat started, I was immediately like, oh, let me go run and hide because my character will die. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe not. Maybe at level 1, that's just so interesting. I wonder why the huge disparity between 0 and 1 like that.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out when we do our own level 0
Yeah,
next week.
Tell us why.
Yeah, well, everybody can watch the chaos unfold with that one.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Boy, I kind of like the idea of it. I don't know. I'm thinking like the nostalgia dungeon crawly things that I am thinking of were more video game based, like Dungeon Explorer was one I used to play.
Oh wow!
And you would die like so quickly in that game.
Yeah.
And so that's
Dark
where the level
Souls.
0 kind of calls back to me. It's like, oh, I'm dead. Okay, I got to respawn. I got to start the game over. It was like this grueling, difficult game. But as you progressed, you leveled up, and then they would give you little cheat codes to like spawn your level 1 character now. But you still died super easily. So,
that's actually a really interesting point that I had not thought about until right this minute. If anybody has played any of the Dark Souls-like games, video games, I would say that if anything, Shadowdark's general mechanics are closer to that. And what I mean by that, it is very easy to die in Dark Souls. That's part of the thing. It is a difficult game. But you're going, I mean, sometimes you're in the darkness, sometimes you need light, sometimes you don't, sometimes you're outside. And it's a general vibe of like, you and your team working together against your environment more than anything, right? So that's interesting. So I don't know the game that you were playing, but Dark Souls is also similar. Yeah.
I do love that too. It seems like Shadowdark would be more of like, environment as an NPC kind of thing. Like,
felt
like
that way.
You're battling that as well.
Yeah. It definitely felt that way.
Jax asks, Evan, are you upset that it's not as easy to die as you thought? And not gonna lie, a little bit disappointed.
That's okay. We'll get it all out during the level 0. You can die 4 times and still have 1 left. How's that?
Get on my yucks out. Okay.
Maybe you'll. So here's a question. As far as, because I don't know much about leveling in Shadowdark, does it combat like the D&D thing of becoming so godlike so quickly, where it's like you have all of this power and it's like so like is it easier to die at higher levels, or survivability in that way?
I think so too, and I mean, obviously we haven't gotten that far yet, but that was another sort of correlation I was thinking at Dark Souls, where you can always be, because the way that John put it was, because there is no real need to worry about levels. Like, levels are really just randomized experience gained, that you could easily have a first level player with a 5th level player, because that player's character dies and then starts over. Yeah, so the impetus is not so much on all the stuff that all of the gear that you have, but like that kind of feeling of needing to survive.
Yeah. And the way that you gain XP makes it easier, so that, because you gain XP by your treasure, not necessarily by the monsters you kill. So depending on what loot you find, which is super old school, right?
Super capitalist.
And super capitalist. but it means that your group, the way that things level, because of how the XP, every time you want to level it gets the amount you have to do is exponentially larger. So before your 4th level character in the party hits 5th level, the person who died at 4th level and came back as level 1 will be able to get to level 3 before that 4th level person gets to level 5.
Gotcha.
So you can have mixed level parties, and the people who are lower in that pyramid will catch up sort of as...
Right. Because that XP levels you a lot faster.
It's like ding, 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 ding. Yeah. So that's really fun. I also loved, unlike the early days of Dungeons and Dragons, it's not 1 XP per gold piece. That always was so insane. So, what she
was
does
that how
instead,
it was?
It was.
Wow.
1 XP for gold piece. And that, talk about capitalist.
Yeah, right.
maybe Gary was like, I'm going to manifest this or something. But instead, it's like the kind of treasure is equal to 1 XP or 3 or 5. You're right.
Knowledge can knowledge be treasure?
And knowledge can be treasure, I think, in some occasions. And then everyone's very excited about the carousing mechanic that happens after your dungeon delve or your forest delve or something, and you're literally rolling on a table to see how much, like, if you spend your money and you go out and get have a party for you and your friends, you also get XP from that.
That's I didn't get to experience that part.
Right, you missed that part, right? Yeah. We basically
some real life experience.
Yeah,
real life
cuts to the shawarma scene at the end.
Right.
And the one that Kelsey includes is very like drinking, partying, having sex. It's like, it is carousing, but John says he has had so much fun building tons of other types of carousing tables.
Just can't it be more? Just it's cute. It's just like
non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, he said that he had built like 30 tables or something, but they're all, he tried to make them like different RP things that fit to the characters more, so that way, because one of the things that I think we should talk about as well is the always on initiative, and the way that works, I think can make it a little bit hard to RP when you're actually adventuring in the dungeon. So I know he was pushing for having some of the carousing elements and the in-between delving be where the role play and character development comes from, which is a really good way to sort of get a little bit of both in there.
Though I did, Fitz, and we'll talk about this too, but I know that was one, the always on initiative concept. Number one was one of the most unique things, one of the most differentiating points for with 5e. It is very different. You roll initiative at the beginning of the game. You have this sort of loose initiative, and people take turns around the table, and kind of start and with the GM's turn. So it's just kind of going on. But I watched her tips and tricks video, and it was very cool and enlightening. It was she wanted to stress that it's not a rigid initiative as much as, say, combat would be. It can be looser, and then you kind of find the rhythm of your players, especially if you live in a campaign rather than a one shot. You get to know everybody, and one thing that was, I think, tough for us, number one, because of the audio setup that we were using, where we weren't on all the time like we are right now, and I can hear everything you were saying. You had to kind of click to speak. I think that was part of it, but another element was just the general social interactions. She says, no, encourage everybody to talk to each other, plan things, work things out, have back and forth, but then take a turn individually, which I feel like we would learn to do. Hopefully we'll learn to do in the next few weeks, right? But that was difficult for me to understand as well, a little bit.
So turns are less, 6 seconds, kind of a little bit more loosey-goosey with,
Yes, in the crawling concept, right? So there is initiative in combat. So if you start combat, you re-roll initiative, and then that's your combat initiative. And then once combat's over, you keep that initiative until the next fight, if there is a next fight. But you're just kind of round robining, which is interesting.
Here's my question for the folks in the chat who are experienced Shadowdarkers. What is, we've only had this one experience. It was immediately, you're going straight into the dungeon. Your mission is to find the treasure, and that's kind of the old school part of it. There's not a lot of story here. It's just, what are you guys doing? The really fun part was really trying to be thoughtful about how you interact with the environment around you, because you don't have to roll to search for something. You just have to say what you're doing to get the GM to tell you what is actually there. They're not going to just give it to you, right? But for those of you who have played maybe or are playing an ongoing campaign, how do you run the more role play parts? How do you run NPCs in this? And is that all of that also in initiative order? And how does that flow? And does Shadowdark work well in that aspect? Brother, I did have a thought. Does always on initiative make a tabletop game more accessible for people who are hard of hearing?
100%. An interesting take that Kelsey has specifically is that she found that a game master tends to naturally move to a sort of turn by turn play style, which I don't know if you found that. You've definitely GM'd far more games than anyone here, Seth. So I wonder if you kind of naturally do that. But I was thinking the same thing, Biv, is that if you were just super mindful of this is your turn, not only the shy players, but the people that might have, that might be hard of hearing or even ADHD need that kind of focus on what is happening next. I think it'd be really cool. I think it would really help.
That's certainly the pro of it. And I don't necessarily want to speak for AK because she's not here, but one of the things that she mentioned when we sort of initially brought up the always on topic was, she said in the game that she played last Wednesday night, where it was her and some strangers, the always on initiative was actually very beneficial and very helpful. For us, it was a little not awkward, but maybe awkward a little bit because we're so familiar with each other and we are so talkative and role play heavy. So that's where we just needed to tweak our comfort zone to fit the game. But Pro, I do think it's absolutely more accessible to, deaf, hard of hearing, any sort of neurodivergence. Having that order is good.
Yeah.
Or even just a shy player.
Yeah.
Being able to give everyone an equal voice at the table, I think absolutely having that helps. The con is just that it makes it a little bit stilted depending on the table and how you like to play.
Yeah.
But is that shy players sitting around waiting for their initiative order just freaking out about what? Shit, I've got to say something cool.
Yeah, like when you're in school and you have to everyone reads a paragraph and you go down the...
Yeah.
I thought of something cool to say 5 minutes ago, but it was someone else's turn and now it's mine and I forgot what it was and I'm not wearing any pants and I got to pee.
Yep.
Yeah.
Glenn in the chat has something interesting. He's saying that he likes to ping the players loosely, and that was another cool thing that they've got set up, that John had set up in the Foundry install itself. Which your turn is coming up next. Kind of prepare for your turn, and I'm gonna. I know what that module is. I'm gonna install it ourselves. But yeah, everyone gets a chance to interact when out of initiative order. Small group works well. Large group always. Yeah. Totally. And I think it's that kind of, do what works for y'all, right? There's also consolidation rules where it's obvious that this person's going to go there and this person, and they all want to do one thing. You can consolidate your entire turn, and it's kind of like a jump cut or a scene change. You're like, we're going to go now to that wizard at the end of the hallway. You don't have to wait for each other if you kind of agree. Again, the communication. Yeah. But it's yeah.
So, dude, going back to kind of what you were talking about, Matt, with the Kelsey's sort of motivation in kind of always on initiative, I find that really interesting. I hadn't thought about that before, but yeah, in social scenes or more role play heavy scenarios, I do definitely try and you've got more vocal players than other, and the shire players. So kind of prompting, these two players are doing a scene, they're talking to a shopkeep.
Yeah.
And then prompting players, while that's happening, what are you doing? Right. And kind of going through, and that's, that's interesting to hear that's kind of the motivation behind the always on initiative. Because I've 100% had those groups where there's the shy player is just quiet unless it's their turn in combat. Yeah. And like I try to kind of pull them in here and there but I could also see the con you were saying, Evan, where just getting your pants while just waiting.
Now, luckily, though, when it does get to your turn, you don't have to take it. If that shy person is shitting themselves, they can just say, "I'm good, thank you. I'll follow this person over there."
Yeah.
But I think I do think they always. Please don't.
Can I just say,
don't mess your pants if you're playing a game. Like it's not
okay.
worth it. It's not
your
worth
friends
it.
Love you.
You're amongst friends.
Yeah.
More than that, don't deuce in your pants for any reason if you can help it. But I would like to make it an appeal to all of the players who are at a table with someone who is shy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And don't leave that up to the GM to draw them out. Yeah. Like you need to get in there and throw them stuff, throw them interactions or whatever, to get them into it until they start to get it and build their own confidence.
That definitely helps loosen people up. Mm-hmm. Even if it's and you can I can sit there and see it. That first interaction is just kind of very limited, but you can see as it keeps happening, they open up. It tend to, people open up more as it just becomes more comfortable. So
yeah, for sure.
100%.
Cool.
Fully endorse that.
Yes, fully endorse. Specifically, though, in Shadowdark, the always-on initiative not only helps just with content and equal voice and whatever, but it has game mechanics that are pretty important to it as well. Because I think, every 3 rounds, the GM will roll for a random encounter.
Right.
So
you can't mess
some
around.
spells, some spells last for certain rounds while you're crawling. So I don't know if the thought of always on initiative started with that and just had these other beneficial effects that come with it too. But I mean, turn order. Whether you're tracking your sunblock, as Kai said earlier, instead of torches if you're on the beach. I love that.
I missed that.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
Whether you're tracking your sunblock or you're have a spell up or you're rolling for encounters, it just keeps the game sort of loosely moving forward.
Yeah.
I want to see a Shadowdark. I want to play a game of Shadowdark where you're just like at the tavern, right? Trying to, just a cut scene. Like you've already had the battle, you've come back, and 3 rounds go by, and you have to fight something.
Random encounter.
Random encounter at the tavern. It's not just like a drunk
throws a beer.
bar fight and a monster. There's a monster
a Grick shows up.
Exactly. Thank you.
I thought you were going to say that you would like to play a game of Shadowdark set in a tavern where every one of the players has social anxiety, and that's the darkness that they have to fight through. And they're tracking a beer. If they can get their beer is done, they're suddenly
that's a little too close. That's why I play games, is to not live that experience.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you guys, Seth, I did one last thing to say. You had asked a while ago about is it just as easier for high level players to die? And according to our GM John, dying is actually less difficult than one it's been cracked out to be. Cracked out
to be. And not dying, it's all cracked out.
Super dark. The shadow is incredibly dark. It was cracked up to be. But he also said, and this is a term that I've never heard before I heard of Shadowdark, which is that the dice are very swingy. And that's like the cool thing to say, meaning that there aren't as many modifiers. So the straight roll is really what you're going to get. And so you can, it seems like it just ups the chaos. So you could do a ton of damage. You could do very little. You could take a ton of damage. Yeah. And so it sounds like the playing field is a little bit more even there for no matter what level you are. So if that helps kind of start to envision what, as people level up, what that might be like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All of those components are just so cool, so different feeling. I'll just go ahead and start my, again, I didn't get to stay there for the entire time. I really, really didn't want to go because I was having such a great time. Mm-hmm. So if that says anything, my first impression was 2 thumbs up, 3 if I could give it. Fits?
Oh yeah, 2 thumbs up for sure.
Okay. But not 3. So okay, there's that.
Not three.
Sorry.
Oh yes.
Matt just chuckles evilly.
No, I really, it is. I want to stress that it is a very different style of a game. It touched on so many of the things that Evan and I loved when we were little, but the game mechanics are just so much cleaner, streamlined. Unlike some games like Blades in the Dark, which are very specific to like a world or a concept, you could have a campaign that could last forever in this game. It would it just plays real differently, and it differently from DC 20, which we love, from 5e, which we love, and all these other things. But it is a vibe for sure. So 2 thumbs up wholeheartedly. I cannot wait to plan for this, to GM this, to.
I very much want to, even if it's a mini campaign, I really want to. I'm so curious to see what that feels like. So come on. Yeah. Seth, will you join us for a mini campaign?
100%. I was going to give 2 thumbs up for the for the excitement, my excitement level to experience this game. Because just the simplicity, all these factors. I am anxious to play it.
I know we're wrapping up, but I just had a thought. Because we were talking about how the environment is like an NPC, and Matt, you were comparing it to Blades in the Dark. Yep. Our dear friend Tay, he always refers to his style of GMing as he is a video game renderer. He only renders what in the game, what his players are looking at, and everything else is just sort of like, blurry on the sidelines. And that, I think, explains how you interact with Shadowdark really well.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room or a hallway in the dungeon, whatever your character or the other people in your game focus on is what the GM renders and gives you information for. And I definitely don't want people to think that there isn't role play in this game just because we were talking about always on initiative. One of the things that you have to sort of wrap your brain around is not only does the GM like render what you're looking at, but you as a character have much more flexibility in your abilities and your spells and the role play that you have with the world. Like if you're a wizard, your spells are much more malleable and aren't necessarily exactly as written like they are in 5e. Like if in 5e it says it only affects a creature, guess what? It only affects a creature.
Yep.
Whereas in Shadowdark, it's much more you're tapping into the weave of the world and stretching and pulling. And I think that is a really good way to think of Shadowdark. So thank you, Tay, for that.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on that note,
let's
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Galaxy, Glenn, Mike,
Jack. Mike on a plane.
Mike was on a plane.
Mike is on a plane. He bought the Wi-Fi. I feel like we need to reimburse Mike.
We do. We absolutely do.
We'll do a GoFundMe for Mike's, because that Wi-Fi from the air, that's like $4 million. We got to do a GoFundMe for Mike.
You're gonna level up immediately. Your airplane treasure.
Yes.
Jax, Kai, Mortal, Cassie, everybody. Thank you so much. Brother, take us out.
Yeah, first I'd like to personal apologies for all of the technical difficulties today. I am fired, but that's okay because AK will be back next week and everything will be smooth sailing. Is next week the true Gauntlet of Doom?
Next week is the Gauntlet of Doom.
Oh, hell yeah. So next week, everybody, Gauntlet of Doom.
Can't wait to watch you all die multiple times.
My dear ham, nibbles, and Odd must survive.
Hey, Seth, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Seth, thank you so much, dear friend. If all of you have had a good enough time, as much as we have, please join us again. We do this live stream every Friday at 11:30 CT, 12:30 ET. But we wanted to mention this time that if you're as forgetful as I am, or live in chaos, YouTube will tell you when we're on if you click the bell icon, the button. That's a bell, so please do. And until next week, come see us on Discord and hang out, and we'll be back next week and murder a bunch of level 0
of ourselves.
Yeah. Can I also plug? I should have thought to highlight this, but if y'all can't get enough of Seth, then you guys could go back and watch our actual play when we did DC 20 and watch Seth just absolutely blow everyone's mind as Chad Jaunch, the Warlord.
Aw, Jax, thank you so much for the super chat.
Pocket change for Mike's GoFundMe.
Nice. We'll make sure he gets that.
And Seth the DM.
SethMcKay.com.
SethMcKay.com. So if you want to actually play tonight, well, maybe not tonight. I don't know how much
I do have
you
plans
need before.
tonight.
Maybe not tonight, but very soon. Go there.
Hey, tomorrow night.
Okay. No, yeah. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.